Good afternoon, listeners. Welcome to the Aspects of Writing show. Today, we have the Storytelling and Publishing Experience with Sheryl Green. Joyce, why don't you give us a little intro?
Certainly. Good afternoon. We're enjoying the position of co-hosting today. My name is Joyce K. Gatchenberger, and I'm an author. I'm a nurse. I also maintain a blog, which is called linesoflisteningblog.wordpress.com. And I'm also waiting for my third book to be released. I'm doing it in audio, print book, and ebook, so that's an exciting process for me. You can also find my books on my website, which is linesoflistening.com, and it's available on Amazon.
And I'm Janet Coursey, and you can find my books at janetcoursey.com. You can also find me on Aspects of Writing and Amazon.
I'm Sid Saldana, and I'm a businessman here in Las Vegas, Nevada. I co-host or help out to James, who has just gone through eye surgery, is not able to join us today. But we're happy to have Sheryl here with us and hear more about what she has to offer. I run a show also, which is Bridge to Asia, which is blending a little bit of the East to the West and bringing the cultures together.
Marvelous.
That sounds really exciting. And to continue, I would like to say again, the name of our show is the Storytelling and Publishing Experience. And before we begin our conversation and introduce our guest, we're going to read a few quotes about storytelling.
Okay, we're all storytellers. We all live in a network of stories. There isn't a stronger connection between people than storytelling. Jimmy Neal Smith, Director of International Storytelling Center.
Storytelling is the most important way to put ideas into the world. Robert McGee, Professor.
There's always room for a story that can transport people to another place. J.K. Rowling, author.
Story is a yearning meeting an obstacle. Robert Olin Butler, author.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd like to talk a little bit about our guest today. She is Sheryl Green. Sheryl is a New York native living and thawing in Las Vegas. I like the thawing part.
Yeah, we all did.
Yes. She's been here since 2008. Dubbed a native-born storyteller, Sheryl has brought her penchant for storytelling to fiction, nonfiction, and content writing for businesses. Sheryl holds a master's degree in psychology and has worked in customer service, public relations, education, and the nonprofit world. A passionate animal advocate, she serves as a director of communications and cuddling for Hearts Alive Village and is a founder of Paw It Forward, Las Vegas. Sheryl brings a unique blend of experience and insight to her audiences, a high-content speaker who is motivational in style. She entertains her audience with humor and heart. Sheryl, what inspired you to be a storyteller and a book coach?
The storyteller actually started about 10 years ago. I had gone through a writing class. I was looking for something after my divorce that was, going to wake up that passion in me. And I took a writing class and just realized that A, I was good at it, but B, I loved it. And it took a couple of years before I figured out exactly what to do with that skill and with that passion. But after writing some fiction novels and then getting into nonfiction and helping businesses with their content and with their story, I realized that I could help people write their books and get their message out into the world.
It sounds like you had a personal challenge to figure that out. You were nudged along.
Nudged is a really nice way of putting it. I prefer to call it the universal kick to the butt.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's been a challenge, but I'm so grateful for everything that's happened to me and for me. And it's led me here, and now I get to help other people.
And did you start that process for yourself when you moved to Las Vegas, or did it start in New York?
No, I was a very different person in New York. I lived in North Carolina with my ex-husband for about 2 years, not as an ex. And it wasn't until I came out to Vegas that I finally became who I'm supposed to be. and finally stepped out of my shell and stepped out of trying to be everybody else's idea of me. And yeah, Vegas was a great place to start over, and I've met amazing people along the way that have helped me on this journey.
Mm-hmm. So as a book coach, I looked a little bit in your background, and it says...
You stalked me?
I did. I did, yes. We have to get informed, so I got informed. It says you identify your reason for writing a book when you're doing some coaching. You establish your goals. You pinpoint your message. You identify your audience. You help understand the difference between self-publishing and traditional publishing. Help organize the thoughts and create a workable outline. Find your unique voice. Create a system and address any blocks that get in your way. Do you find that most people are all kind of encompassed in that area? That's where a writer needs to be. That's where the publishing part and the writing part develop and progress.
I do. I think a big part of it is mindset. And, we've all struggled with mindset in some way or another. But really understanding your why and why you're getting into, why you're writing a book, it's a huge project to undertake, and emotionally and physically and all of that. So approaching it without understanding why you're going into it and why you're doing it, it's not going to get you through those days where you want to do anything but sit down at your computer. Mm-hmm. And I think once you grasp that concept and you understand deep down why you are writing a book and for who and what purpose it's for, I think that's when we can kind of wrap our heads around the amount of work that goes into it and just be dedicated and stay with it.
And is that where the storytelling part comes through after you've kind of identified your blocks and your reason and your path? Then the storytelling, is that just kind of a release because you've kind of taken those barriers and released them, and then the story part, the real part, the fantasy part of the author comes through?
That's a cool question. I think storytelling is such a huge part of our lives, no matter what we're doing, that one, I think we need permission to do it. We have to give ourselves permission. I work a lot with businesses that they don't think that their story has any place in the marketplace. That should be all facts, all benefits and features and all of that. And what they don't grasp is that story is really the root of who we are. And when we tap into that, that's when we're going to connect with people. And you can tell me what you do. I tease realtors and insurance agents all the time because everyone knows at least 20 of each. But your story is what's actually going to draw people to you and make them want to work with you, because they're going to get to know you on a more human playing field. So I think that comes through in books. Sorry about me.
No problem.
It comes through that who you are and what you stand for, and no matter what you're writing about, I think that needs to come into it.
So you're saying that the story needs to be true, like they always say, to be a good author, you have to write what you know. So in a storytelling, it's your story. Yes.
I think it's more powerful that way. But yeah, we all have stories, and they don't have to be these, fantastical voyages. I always ask my audiences, like, raise your hand if you've ever lost an arm. They usually like that. Right. Raise your hand if you've ever landed a plane on the Hudson, and most people haven't. But we've all experienced fear. We've all experienced hope and sadness and all of those emotions. So the story is unique to you, but the emotions are not, and that's what people are going to relate to.
Right. Now, do you find in advertising today, though, that they're using more fantasy than fact? I work for an automotive company.
Okay.
And we have some new commercials out that are absolutely extraordinary.
Okay.
But they tend to lean a little towards fantasy as opposed to fact. And it's really waking people up, because now people are going, well, that is my fantasy. Maybe I need to check that out.
I guess they're probably playing into those fantasies and, selling that dream of what you'd like to be or where you'd like to be or who you'd like to be dating in the automotive
that's
world.
right.
I think
Yes.
women play a lot into that.
Yes.
Right. The story.
yeah,
Story.
exactly.
Mhm.
It's selling the emotion that you want to have.
Right.
And so when you're talking about the story and you're talking about the fantasy and you're talking about putting those two together, where does the publishing part come through? Because now you've identified your blocks and they're gone, and now you have your fantasy and your story kind of combined. So now as you go forth, you want to publish your story. How does that work? How do you get that person, that author, to actually make a book or make an ebook or make an audiobook? How does that work?
So first of all, I am 100% outline focused. I love the outline. I know there's some seat of the pantsters out there that are sitting there cursing me right now.
The prancing or the plotting, either or. I see.
Yeah, my first book took me, I don't know, 3-4 years to do. By my third book, it took me 45 days.
Wow.
And that was, I don't know where I'm going. I just want to know I want to write a book. All the way to I outlined everything. I did NaNoWriMo, which is National Novel Writing Month, if you don't know. And I outlined the entire book, the entire story on October 31st. And
now, how did you figure that out? That's quite a difference from 3 years to 45 days. I mean, you must have had tremendous personal growth or professional growth.
Yeah, I've been very, very involved in the writing community since I started writing, and I've had amazing teachers. Robert Colley was my first teacher over at CSN, and he passed away, I think, last year.
Oh, yes. He was an awesome writer. I
amazing.
Just read his Ladora, the book. Yes. I
he used to talk about that all the time.
Yes.
So yeah, I've just been surrounded by amazing people. I've been taking as many classes as I could and reading everything I could, and really just studying the art of storytelling. And I think that's what makes me different from some of the other like business writers and content writers out there, is that that's my background. Like I understand crafting that fictional story. So I'm able to bring that to, storytelling for nonfiction and for business.
And the publishing world today is, if I could say, the writing is the easy part. The publishing is a mountain that's full of pricks and potholes and obstacles. How do you get through that? How do you guide a publisher or an author through the publishing?
So right now, I work with people that want to self-publish. I have never traditionally published, so I don't feel that I'm qualified to guide someone through that. I can explain to them what the differences are, and I'm happy to do that. But for the most part, in the publishing process, I work with people that are interested in doing it themselves. And the benefits to that are I'm usually working with business people, speakers, coaches, consultants, things like that want to have that book in their hands in a couple of months and not have to wait, 9 months to a year to get that out into the world. So you know what? I'm actually
like you're laughing from experience.
You have a story in there, I can tell.
You have your own story.
Because you know what? I love Amazon. I love KDP. Like it's been a, fantastic way for people to get their messages out into the world. But if that publishing platform has brought me to tears on many occasions, it is a frustrating process at times, and not being able to deal with a human.
Yeah.
But that's why I'm here. That's why other coaches and people that assist with self-publishing, that's why we're here. Because we've already gone through that frustration.
Right.
And we can help someone else. It's a simple process, except when something goes wrong.
Right.
And then you're crying.
And there's only a couple of hundred things on the list.
Yeah.
So, you know. Right.
It's not too much to know.
No.
And so when someone does want to self-publish and they've gotten the writing finished and it's their personal story and it's a story told from their personal experience, how do they contact you? How do they put what they know into the public venue? I mean, there are so many things, it's like outer space for them. How do they decide where to do, when to do, how to do, how many to do, how long to do? It's, again, like outer space.
That's a lot of questions.
I know.
Yeah.
And that's what the traditional or the
Yeah.
self-publisher author goes through.
Yeah, it is. And you know what? It's one of those questions that's answered by it depends.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm sure.
It depends what your purpose is for writing the book. If you're using it for back of room sales, that's going to be something much different than if you're using it for marketing. So it really just depends on what the situation is and what you're hoping to get out of it. And that's why you work with somebody, because you can talk through those things and figure out what's going to be the best route for your goal.
Mm-hmm. It sounds like you take the author and say, like an algorithm. If you want to do this, you go here.
Yeah.
If you want to do that, you go down this route. If that doesn't work, you back up and come over here.
It's choose your own adventure, basically.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
So what you're saying is there's no written template for this. It's really your understanding the writer, and you'd like to know them one-on-one and guide them on every step of the way. Yeah. Right.
Yeah, I think when you have somebody that's kind of holding your hand throughout the process and asking the important questions up front, I think that's the most important part of it, is understanding everything before you start writing and before you go into it. And I also do some editing, and do I wish I had gotten to these people before they started writing. It can save you so much time when you plan out your path ahead of time, and when you've got an expert guiding you that's been through it and made the mistakes.
Right.
Yeah. Now, do you insist upon the people that you publish, insist that they have an editor and that these books are ready to go before you get them?
I provide the editor.
Ah, okay.
So yeah, I do. I have a couple of people that I work with now because no one wants me fixing commas.
No.
I learned that lesson. I edited something and had a friend look at it, and who's also an editor, and she went, no, it's not. No. So
Don't do that. Don't do that.
You find your strengths. I'm a good developmental editor.
Uh-huh.
So if they're coming to me not as a coaching client but just as a publishing client, then yes, I will. I'm not going to insist. Look, if you want to put it under your name and it's gonna be a mess,
you're on your own.
I mean, I'm not gonna force you into it, but the world has enough poorly written and poorly edited books, so
right.
I would encourage.
Yes.
Let's use that word. But yeah, I always do a developmental edit, and then I send it on to my line editor, and she'll fix it.
Good, very good.
She'll fix the commas that I've screwed up.
Well, what a lot of people don't realize too is if you write a book, just because you can read it and in your head it really sounds good, doesn't mean when somebody else is reading it with their eyeballs that it's going to sound good. And if they start giving you bad reviews right off the get-go, you're done.
Yep.
You're done.
Absolutely.
So,
yeah, it's so important. And I mean, really, self-publishing is working its way out of that stigma that it's carried for so many years, but we're responsible for it. If we're putting garbage out into the market, then it's going to be stigmatized once again.
Right.
So.
Yeah. And that's going to kill your business because then people aren't going to come to you because you're not known for having the best clientele.
Right.
That you don't care.
Yeah.
And that's the way it looks. It's like you don't care. So, yeah, people need to be aware.
Yes.
Those
yeah.
are,
Please edit your books. Please.
By somebody who knows what they're doing.
Yes.
Because I could edit your book and it'll look pretty much like you sent it to me.
Well, I have a question. Do a lot of authors come to you, and do they know the difference between line editing and formatting and plot editing, or do you kind of work with them to tell the difference and guide them in that process?
Yeah, I think a lot of new writers just believe that editing is this, wonderful fairyland where everything gets fixed and sent off into the world. But there are different types of editors. And while I don't think everyone needs a developmental editor, especially if you're working with a coach from the get-go, everyone needs a line editor. It's absolutely necessary. We've all picked up self-published books, and they are a hot mess.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And you don't want to put that into the world.
Mhm.
You've worked hard to get your ideas out there and to position yourself as an expert or leave a legacy for your family or whatever your
Mhm.
purpose is. You don't want to screw that up by having it be messy.
And what would a line editor, what would someone who does that work do? Would they say that the comma's in the wrong place, or that there are prepositions that aren't used correctly, or maybe you should capitalize this word? Is that what a line editor does?
Basically, I like to say they make things pretty.
They make things
They
pretty.
make things
Yeah.
pretty.
Okay.
Yeah, they're gonna fix your commas and make sure the spelling is correct and all of that. It's really making it readable.
Okay.
So give us some examples of some work you've done with businesses, because that intrigues me.
Okay.
In the sense, like, do you work with the principals of businesses who maybe want to do a biography and leave a legacy to their company and to their loved ones? Or perhaps you give an instructional book on how to progress in life in the business field that they're attached to.
So I've worked so far. I like to call them. What do I like to call them? One is more of a culture book, whereas the other one is an expert book. So for a culture book, that's when you're. I use Zappos. What is it? Delivering happiness.
Yes.
Tony Hsieh's book is, this is what our mission was. This is how we built it. These are the, problems that we saw along the way. And this is the culture that we've built. And I think that is important for larger companies.
Yes.
Yes.
Right now, my company is me and my dog, and
Okay.
she's pretty on par with the culture, so it's not a problem. But
That's funny.
but as you,
Cheryl, that's funny.
Your dog's on the board of directors.
she is the board of directors. Yeah, she's my secretary and
Yes.
Employee of the Month every month.
Sergeant
Yes.
at Arms.
Very impressive. Yes.
Sergeant at Arms. Yes.
But as you grow as a company, sharing that mission, sharing that vision that you have for your business is so incredibly important.
Yeah.
And explaining what the culture is and how you got there, and showing stories as examples. And right now we're actually, I do animal rescue as well, and I'm on the board of directors for that. And we're working on a culture book because the organization is growing.
Yes.
And we're getting beyond the core,
Mhm.
10 people or whatever that built it to this stage. And we want people to understand, like, this is what our organization is about. And this is, the expectations that you're going to be held to. So I think that's one of the types that you can write. The other one is really that positioning yourself as an expert. The books that I've written, the nonfiction books that I've written, that's the point, is sharing information. Like,
Yes.
If you are looking to do storytelling for business, you're going to pick up my book,
Right.
and you're going to learn how to do that. And if you need some extra help, hopefully you're going to pick up the phone and call me, because
Right.
my information's in there. So it really just comes down to, again, what are you hoping to gain? Where are you at in your career? Where is your business at in its evolution? And what do you need to accomplish?
So you're a animal advocate,
I am, yeah.
and you help the
Yeah.
animals speak where they perhaps cannot heard. They're not heard, and so tell us a little bit more about that.
So I don't want to get into my divorce story. It was my world exploded. Let's just
Yeah.
stick with that. And I came out to Vegas
Yes.
to heal.
Yes.
And one of the things, I went through a very dark depression, and my stepmom came into the bathroom one day and found me curled up in the fetal position, just, done. And she picked me up and said, "Sheryl, this isn't you." She's like, "Go help someone else." And that was kind of the spark
way.
that was
Yeah.
like, okay, the world is about more than just me, even though
Yes.
when you're in that depression, that's how you feel. But I went and I started with Petapalooza. I took my dog. She was getting a little moldy because I was crying into her all the time, or onto
dear.
her, I should say.
Yeah,
And,
animals relate. They certainly do.
She has taken her fair share of tears. But we went to Petapalooza and ended up talking to this organization called FUPPY, which is Foreclosed Upon Pets. And this is in 2008. And I found out that people were leaving their pets behind in their foreclosed homes.
Locked in them.
To
Yes.
die.
Yes.
And I couldn't grasp this. My dog has been and had been my entire world throughout this process. So it kind of woke something up in me. And my first thing that I did, I ran a garage sale for them and raised $1,000.
Wow.
Wonderful.
Wow.
I was like, okay. And I just got more and more involved. And then Pot Forward that you were talking about was actually a Toastmasters leadership project.
Oh.
And my friend who I'd known in the animal rescue community pretty much since I started, her service dog had passed away. And I called her one day and said, what can I do? Who can I give money to, in his honor? She said, well, there's this organization, Hearts Alive Village that's just getting started. So you can make a donation there.
Wow.
Great. And long story short, $5,000 we raised in one day.
Marvelous.
One day you were able to do that.
One day, Pod Forward was an amazing event, and really my friends, the community, Christy is our founder, and I called her ahead of time and I said, look, you can be as involved as you want in this, or I can hand you a check at the end. I said, this is up to you. And she jumped into the ring with me, and we put on one heck of an event, and that's how I got started with Hearts Alive, and I've never looked back. They're another family.
That is beautiful.
I imagine that you take people's pet stories and help them write it and publish it also. You are, as they say, have one foot in one world and one foot in another world. And
I need more feet.
And,
Yeah.
It's a lot of worlds.
And then you make that come alive in a book. Is that something you do?
So one of my first projects actually was called Pause and Reflect, Tales of Tales.
Oh,
Tales,
cute.
tales.
And
what a brilliant title.
I just wanted to do something for people. Losing an animal is one of the worst things that you can go through, and that's not going to happen because Akasha and I have had this discussion, and she's going to live forever. So
Yes.
we don't have to worry about that.
Oh, I see.
But
I think it was probably a one-sided conversation, however.
She
Meow,
understood.
Love of a friend.
Meow, woof.
Yeah.
Yes.
But I wanted people to have a way to express what animals mean to them.
Yes.
And we ran it as a contest. It was, like a $25 entry fee.
Right.
Everything went to the rescue.
Wow.
And it was just share the story of your best friend. Share that people, call it their doggy soulmate or pet soulmate.
Yeah.
And share that story, and then help out some animals that can use you now.
So you helped them through a process of grieving, basically, and then you helped them put it down in writing, and then you helped them, in a way, have a memorial of that experience so they can relive it when they need to. That's the storytelling and the publishing part that you help them walk through.
And writing is such a cathartic process, and honestly, that's why I got started, was just dealing with those feelings after the divorce. And I had a lot of people after this that came up to me, even ones that didn't end up featured in the book, that said, this was an amazing thing. This was my way of honoring this pet that has passed, and it helped them get through it. So.
Yes. Yeah, because it's us that has the hard time.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
My last pet was deaf from birth, and I had her for 13 years. And at first we thought she was just stupid,
right?
Because she never came when you called her. You throw a ball and she just kind of look at it like, okay, so, and like there was something wrong with me.
Right.
And it wasn't until we took her at 6 months to get her fixed and get all of her shots and stuff that the vet said, you do know she's completely deaf. Had no idea, but she was my best partner when it come to watching fireworks.
Right.
She's right there with me. Lightning storms, right there with me.
Like, my dog's so brave.
She never flinched.
Never do you realize.
I got a pit bull at home, hides under the bed.
Oh, yeah.
And here's my little Cocker Spaniel going, oh, this is beautiful.
Yes. Well, one thing I wanted to look at, and one thing you had listed here on your profile is that difference between self-publishing and traditional publishing. I have a sense of what the difference is. Like maybe self-publishing is what they say a little softer in the business, and traditional publishing, it has that hard, rough edge. Is that kind of what you find?
I think they serve different purposes at this point. I believe we're down to 5 major publishing houses. They've all gobbled each other up. Yeah, there's still a lot of street cred that comes from saying I'm traditionally published and I got picked up by a major publishing house. And who knows, one of my books, I will probably go the traditional route. But I think you have I know you have a lot more artistic control when you are self-publishing.
Yes.
Yes, you should have an editor. Absolutely. Yes, you really ought to listen to your editor because they're there for a reason. However, ultimately, that final decision is yours.
Yes.
And that book cover decision is yours.
Yes.
And, how it gets spun in the marketing world, that's all on you. And, pass or fail, that's all on you.
Right.
In the traditional world, yeah, they're paying for all of this. So they get to make that decision. They're taking a gamble on you. They're investing in you, and they're going to see that it's done their way.
Yeah.
And traditional publishing, just review for our listeners what a traditional publicist does.
So generally you'll go through an agent who will then shop you to different publishers. They will cover the editing, they will cover the formatting, the artwork, and the distribution. They'll get it out there. However, unless you are J.K. Rowling at this point, not early in her career, unless you are Stephen King or any of these big names, they're not going to market it for you. And a lot of authors go into writing thinking, well, if I self-publish, I'm going to have to market it myself. If I traditionally publish, they'll take care of everything and I can just sit back and watch the checks come in. And checks are not going to get there if you're not out there pounding the pavement and, booking your own things. And that marketing, 99% of it is still going to fall on you.
That's right.
So that's why I say it really just comes down to what is your purpose for getting this book out. If you want to have a New York Times bestseller and, be a best-selling author and be known for that, yeah, traditionally publish. If you would like to get your book out there in a reasonable amount of time and have it to sell or to give to your clients or whatever purpose, or your family, then self-publishing may be the better route.
Now, if you go self-published, can you then turn around at some point and take it to a regular publisher and have it published?
You
via
can.
them?
You can. However, keep in mind that your history and your track record is going to factor into this. So if you wrote a book that sold 11 copies, now your publisher is looking at it and saying whether this is a good book or not, they don't know how to market.
Right.
So they're not a good gamble. They're not a good investment. So they do look at that. If you are, what is the 50 Shades of Grey person? I don't even remember their name. Whatever that person is.
Yes.
If you somehow manage to sell 7 billion copies, then a publisher's going to go, yeah.
I love
They're
that book.
interested.
Let's go. Yeah.
Right.
So if you're going to go self-published with the intent of maybe in the future going with a publishing house,
do it right.
then you need to have a plan to get it marketed,
Yes.
known, and you need to be doing some traveling, and you need to be setting appointments, and you need to be talking to people. So you can't just sit down and write a book and hope it happens.
No.
Well, that's no fun.
No, and I'm sure there are budgetary constraints on a lot of what you're referring to. Do you discuss this with your clients right up front?
I do to some degree. Like I said, most of the people that I'm working with, they are using this for their business.
Yes.
That's really the people that I attract. Those are the authors that I'm looking for are the ones that want to have something to give to their clients. They want to have, a lot of people use it as a business card. The book kind of precedes them to establish that credibility. And that their main goal isn't book sales.
Right.
Oh,
Their
okay.
main goal is getting speaking engagements
Yes.
and getting consulting gigs and charging more for what they do. So I do discuss it, but they have a completely different reason for doing this.
That's a good point.
And they probably have a budget allocated for advertisement or for sales, and that's part of their budget.
Right. Yeah,
I see.
and
Yeah.
often those books are given away. They're not even trying to sell them.
Right.
So my first book I was trying to sell and really get it out there, and then I was like, okay, that's fine, because there's really no there's no back end to that business, because it was a personal development book.
Yes.
And I'm more in the business world. But with the second book, the storytelling book for business, it was like, yeah, you get a free copy and you get a free copy, and okay,
Yes.
this is tax
Mhm.
deductible at the end of the year. That's fine.
Yeah.
That's right. That's exactly right.
But you know what? Anybody's hands that it ends up in, you never
Mhm.
know.
Right.
You
That's
never
right.
know what it's going to
Yeah.
open up.
That could be the one copy to the right hand.
Yes.
Could open up an entire world
Yeah.
to you.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And Oprah, if you're listening,
Yes.
Yes, Oprah.
yours are
Yes.
the right hand.
So true.
Well, another thing that I've seen is when a large company gives you a prospectus, which is like their financial accounting. At the beginning, they will always say, this is the goal for our company. This is the history of where we've been. This is our identified goal that we are looking for to develop our prospectus, which is kind of like their board of directors idea of where they'd like to take the company.
Okay.
And they usually set that out at the beginning of their prospectus, and then they tell you the financial status of their company. So I see where that's really important in a financial business part of their program, and I'm sure what you're talking about is something that is of value for them and for their customers and for their board of directors.
It is. It's more of a long-term marketing strategy.
Yes.
Like I said, you're not really interested in the book sales so much as the relationships that it's going to build, the doors it's going to open, and the people that are going to get to your book before they get to you.
Mhm.
And it also, depending on what industry you're in, how your business works, you can go beyond a local market.
Mhm.
If it's something that you can work with someone in another country or another state, then your book may get there first. If it's on Amazon, I had somebody contact me from New York, and he said, I found your book. I read it. He's like, it's the most fun business book I've ever read and I loved it. And he's already, posted on LinkedIn, like commenting on it
Fantastic.
and recommending it.
Uh-huh.
So it's just opening other doors.
Right.
I was interviewed from a podcast in Ireland.
Uh-huh.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Like, okay.
Yes.
Like, woohoo, international author. So yeah, it opens so many doors.
Mhm.
Yes.
Another brochure I've recently seen is when people go and they look for vacation spots,
Mhm.
and they see these wonderful, colorful, bright brochures laying on the table somewhere, like in a hotel or a vacation area. And they pick it up because it has pictures of people sailing on the ocean, or birds flying over the sea, or a sunset on the islands of Tahiti. And then down below it, it'll have like an 8 or 10 line description of how life could be, and where would you like to go, and here's our
Yes.
vacation area. Wouldn't it be great to see yourself there? I'm sure that is what you're talking about also.
Yeah, and that's why I bring storytelling to businesses. I do website content and blogging and things like that, and some marketing work. And again, you're selling the emotion. You're
Yes.
selling that ideal of what they want and what they want to experience. And it's not about facts and figures.
That's right.
And
Right.
I learned that I always joke around. Fundraising is sales without a product.
Uh-huh.
Oh.
You have to go up to
brilliant.
someone and say, I would like you to give me money, and I'm not going to give you anything.
Anything for it. Right.
And you're probably not going to see any
They're gonna
changes
say,
for a
"Not
couple of
today,
years.
not
Right.
today."
Yeah.
Right.
So, you can't sell, and you have
Mhm.
nothing to physically sell. All you can sell is that emotion,
Yes.
that hope of a better future, of, happier dogs that aren't dying in shelters, or children that, are focusing on school because they're not hungry anymore.
Right.
So, anytime in a sales situation, you still have to sell that emotion. What are you hoping to get out of it? I mean, when you were describing that, I was already relaxing. I was like, oh, vacation.
Yes.
I'm
Yeah.
looking at the beach.
Yes.
I'm relaxed. And
Yes.
so, yeah, and in a sales context and any kind of marketing, it's very important.
Well, when you relax and you have the brochure in your hands and you're looking at the bright colors and the wonderful sea and the waves on the sea, you're not thinking about who wrote this. You're thinking about where you could be in that setting.
Right.
And
What's
so the person who paid you to actually write that story, you're the storyteller for them. You've done your job. You're now the author who has not only told the story, but you have published your story for them in a way that is successful. So when you think about being an author and when you think about being a storyteller, you never always go to that path. You always think about, maybe most people think about, well, I'm going to sit at my computer and I'm going to write my story, and then it's going to have it printed on a piece of paper, and then it's going to end up on a book that somebody's going to open up, and then they're going to read page 7, or they're going to go to their Nook or their ebook, and they're going to listen with a pod in their ear. They don't traditionally think about that advertising brochure or their prospectus for their financial backing or their board of directors. They think about maybe something more traditional. So the type of work you do expands an author's reach or expands an author's fantasy, if you will.
It does. I had never even thought about writing for businesses. It didn't even cross my mind. I decided I was going to have a book published within 5 years of starting to write, and it was going to be fiction, and I was going to be the next James Patterson, because I grew up on mystery novels and I have a degree in forensic psychology, and that's what I wanted to write, and I kind of lost that drive to do that.
Oompa.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because life gets in the way and you have to pay bills.
Right.
And
Yes. it
sorry
does,
for
yes.
the bad news, folks.
Sorry, authors. Sorry, authors.
I'm not saying that there isn't a way to do it. By all means, there are fiction writers out there that are making a living and have left their jobs, and that's their career, and God bless them, that's amazing. For me, it just wasn't the route that I took. And I noticed that friends were coming to me with their about pages and, oh, hey, can you just edit this marketing piece for me? And I had always thought that writing was a skill everyone had.
Yeah, no.
Not everybody has
Maybe
that.
not.
And then you look at some work that people have done. It's like,
Yes.
oh, okay, no, this is special.
Special's a good word.
Yeah. So I kind of got started that way, and in the midst of building my speaking career and my own author platform, I was like, I can help some businesses in the meantime and make a living out of it, and that has worked.
Wow.
So yeah, for authors out there, don't limit your writing to fiction unless that's your passion. If that is 100% your passion and money does not factor into this, then do your thing. But if there is a financial goal as well that you must meet to keep a roof over your dog's head,
your dog's head,
then
not just your head.
No,
Dog's head.
dog's way more important. Then writing, businesses need writers, and they don't want to do it. They're busy.
That's right.
So you said you were contacted from a group in Ireland?
Yeah.
Ireland, that's
Yeah.
fantastic.
It was on a sales podcast in Ireland, and it was one of those like, how did you find me? No, never mind. I don't care. Let's just do the interview.
Yeah, right.
That's brilliant.
So, amazing fun. Who knows? Once I'm fully entrenched in the speaking circuit, I will get to go to Ireland.
I think you will. You have to learn more about your
Yeah.
client, right?
Yes.
So you have to go
Yeah,
with your dog.
Oh, she'd be such a pain in the butt on the airplane. Oh no, she'd whine the whole time.
Let her fly. Fly it. She could be the pilot.
God, she's got cataracts.
That's okay.
It's okay.
Will you be joining me on this trip?
No, I can't fly.
Can't that day, right?
fly.
You're busy.
Well, Sheryl, I was interested in your background. You say you have quite an academic background, but not only was I interested in that, but also talk a little bit about what an author might need to tell their story. Two questions there.
Yeah.
Yes,
Like, how do I tie
yes.
those together?
Because just to appeal to a general, wider
Right.
audience.
Right. Okay. So just a crash course in my background. I was goth as a teenager.
Goth.
I was goth.
Oh.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Black nail
Black
polish,
everything.
black hair.
Yep. Yeah.
Mhm.
Black boots and trench coat. I saw Marilyn Manson 19 times in concert.
19.
19. Yeah.
Mhm.
And I decided I wanted to hunt down criminals. I was obsessed with serial killers.
Yes.
You can't tell now, but I'm actually a very colorful person these
Yes.
days. But I wanted to hunt down serial killers. I was always fascinated by that that what goes wrong aspect. You know, how do you go from a normal person to
Right.
bodies buried in the backyard? And I went for a degree in forensic psychology, and I actually applied to the FBI, and I interviewed for the
brilliant.
FBI.
Yes.
Wow.
And let me preface this by saying I'm very glad that I did not get the job, because I do not have the personality to work for the government. However, I failed the lie detector test.
Did you?
Yes, I may or may
Did you
not.
lie on the
I
lie detector?
Didn't. I
Oh.
didn't. I'm a yogini, and I do yoga, and I know
Yes.
how to control
Yeah.
my breath.
Right.
And
Oh.
that is the number one thing they tell you not to do with the lie detector test, because
Right.
that's what it picks up on.
That sense.
Right.
Oh.
So they thought I was a terrorist.
Really.
terrorist.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you didn't pass it.
I did not pass it.
Yes.
They actually had me come back a second time,
Oh.
and I failed that one too on the same question.
Wow.
So I don't know. Maybe I know something that I don't know. But I was still really interested in crimes and things like that, and I went about doing 9 million other things. But when I was learning from Mr. Cawley, and when I was writing my first novel, I decided I wanted to explore what happens to somebody that makes them snap.
Yes.
And I created, we all often use ourselves as characters, and I split myself into two characters, and one had a supportive kind of change person in their life
Yes.
that put them on a different route, and the other one didn't.
That
And-
one special person.
Exactly.
Mhm.
Exactly. And one became a detective, and the other one became a serial killer.
Yes.
So that was kind of, I don't even remember the question. I'm so sorry.
Well, and the other part of the question would be like the background that a general author would need.
Mhm.
Is there a specific background, or do you just need to be able to write?
You know what? You don't even have to be able to write, because there are ghostwriters out there.
Good point.
So if you have a message to share with the world, or you have knowledge to share with the world, please don't keep it inside just because you think you can't craft a sentence. There's people out
Absolutely.
there.
So true.
Yeah.
Yes.
Mhm.
But no,
Yes.
you don't need a specific background. Sure, there's, MFAs in creative fiction or whatever,
Mhm.
and things like that. And you can go to school for writing, and
Mhm.
it's great. I think it opens some doors, but it's not necessary.
Right. I do not have any formal education in writing whatsoever. My editor will attest to that.
There.
And just to update you, E.L. James is 50 Shades of Grey.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes.
It's not that I have a good memory. It's I got a text.
You have Google. Okay.
Modern
Mi-
technology.
Mr. James Kelly filled me in
Oh,
while we
there you
sat
go.
here. Thank you, James. Appreciate
There you
it.
go. There you go.
See, we
There you go.
can't do this without him.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
right. That's right.
There we are.
He's here in spirit.
Yeah.
There you go. There you go.
But no, I don't. I think you just have to have a message and passion.
Mhm. Mhm. And I noticed that you do fiction and nonfiction. What's your favorite?
I have not written fiction in several years.
Oh.
That third book that I was talking about that
Mhm.
took me 45 days is the last one I did. They are collecting dust on my hard drive.
Mm.
There
Aw.
is a very real possibility that first one that I was just talking
Yes.
about will actually see the light of day.
Mhm.
However, I abandoned fiction. I
Hmm.
really did once I got into building a business and
Yeah.
and the speaking and all of that. I really stepped away from it. So I work with nonfiction authors.
Nonfiction.
I do know people that, excuse me, coach fiction. I would not propose to say that I do that now and that I would be good at it. It's been a long time since I've studied that art, and it's a very different world.
You sound like you have many irons in the fire, but the
So many
reality
irons.
is you're very busy.
I am.
And that's brilliant because you brought forth working with reality.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's really important because everybody tries to escape from reality.
Right.
You've brought it back into the forefront.
I have, and I've tried escaping reality. It has not gone well. But no, I think a big part of it, and the book that's coming out next is book writing for busy people.
Yes.
And because that's the number one, why haven't you written a book? Well, I'm busy.
Mm-hmm.
Like, okay, all right, I don't care. If it's your passion and if it's something that you want to do, then you prioritize it and you make it work.
Yes, that's correct.
And something else that I think a lot of people don't know about their own computers.
I can't wait.
This is absolutely serious. Number one, they miss you when you're not there.
Oh,
but
yeah.
secondly, most everybody has a program under Microsoft where you don't have to type anything out. You just push the little icon that's the microphone.
Yes.
And tell your book.
That's right. That's right.
And then go back and re-edit yourself.
Right.
And
that's so true.
There's some shortcuts in there that a lot of people aren't thinking about. And I keep my phone handy because when I think of something, I hit notes and then I tell it what I'm thinking.
Right.
So that I don't have to try to remember it or type it out, especially when I'm very short period of time to do it in. So use your phones.
Yes.
Yes.
Let your computer know that you're willing to talk to it.
So
and that you do love it.
Yeah.
And you can do so much.
Yeah.
That way.
Just a quick suggestion. Evernote. I don't know if you've ever used that.
No.
Free program. Transfers between your phone and your computer. So
Evernote, is it?
Evernote.
Yeah.
You can type into your phone and it shows up on your computer, at the same moment. So if you're capturing ideas or you're sitting, waiting for the doctor or something and you want to start writing, do it.
And that's why you listen to this program.
Yes.
Because this is where you learn all those little things that you don't know.
Yes.
And get all these little hints and things. Absolutely. That's wonderful. I need
I
that.
love it. I love it. I use the notes too in my phone, but then you have to email it to yourself or upload it somehow. So this is super quick. And
I just read it to my computer.
That works too.
Well, the show is actually brilliant because they're probably listening in Ireland right now.
There you go.
They are.
There you go.
They are. That's one of our biggest.
We get all over
there.
the world.
Oh,
we have
really?
listenership all over the world.
Yes.
That's exciting. Can someone please send me a koala?
Koala.
Yes.
Koala. Yeah,
I've been wanting one for a while. Yeah. Yeah.
And it's interesting you mentioned that, Sid, because the readership and the listenership is increasing every month.
Yes, it is.
Yes,
Yes,
it
it is.
is.
And it's bringing the world together, really.
Yeah.
I love this.
That's
I love
exactly
this.
right.
Everybody has a story. Everybody. There
Yes.
isn't a single person walking around that doesn't talk to themselves during the day at least once.
So true. Yeah.
And you're telling yourself a story.
And it's something
So-
that can help someone else.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's right.
Well, listen, we're down to the last 5 minutes of the show, and Joyce, can you wrap it up?
Yes. Sheryl, I'd like to know where we can find out more information about you and your book and your work.
Just hold up a bat signal. No.
A bat
Sorry.
Funny.
So my main website is Sheryl Green Speaks, and that's Sheryl with an S. So SherylGreenSpeaks.com. You can also find, I've got bookwritingforbusypeople.com. So that'll take you directly to that and talk about the coaching program and the book that's coming out. And then I also have onceuponabottomline.com. And that's the storytelling for business. So, but you can get to everything from SherylGreenSpeaks.com. So I suggest you start there, and you can learn more about the rescue that I'm with and a percentage of everything I do. Speaking, books, coaching, everything goes back to the rescue.
Well, as it progresses, we'd love to have you back on the show again.
And I'm going to help you all out, too, because it's Sheryl, SHERYL, Green, GREEN.
Yep.
No extra E at the other end.
No. Green like the color.
Green like the color.
There you
Good.
Go. There you go. And Jan, where can we find out more information about your work?
Well, you put up the mattress light.
That's funny.
I'm going to be taking a nap. If I happen to see you, I'll get there. You can find me at janetcorsi.com, and you can find me. The easiest way is just go to aspectsofwriting.com. And there you'll find my book, you'll find our shows, and you'll find out everything.
There you go. There you go. And my access is linesoflistening.com. And you can also find my blog at linesoflisteningblog.wordpress.com. And it's dedicated to health and wellness. And of course, it's available on Amazon. And of course, Aspects of Writing.
Yes.
Perfect.
And
Sid.
Sid, what about you?
Yeah, so as Bridge to Asia starts to develop
Oh,
more
that's
and I start to get the shows out there, then I'll give you more information and you can reach out to us and get connected.
Marvelous.
Excellent. Well, we would like to thank our guest, Sheryl Green, along with Janet Corsi, Sid Saldana, and myself, Joyce K. Gatchenberger, and as always, the most competent author and radio show host, James Kelly.
Thank
To
you,
find
James.
links-
He wrote
thank
that
you,
part,
thank
didn't
you,
he?
thank you.
Yes.
And to find links to our guest website, please visit aspectsofwriting.com. There you will find the video of our past show on YouTube and the archive video. You will also find links to our syndicated show on iHeartRadio, iTunes, AMFM247.com, Roku TV, YouTube, and our 14 terrestrial stations. We are now streaming on Amazon under the AMFM 24/7 network. We archive all of our shows on the Aspects of Writing website. Just go to aspectsofwriting.com. Until next week, in the words of James Kelly, reminding you, if you can dream it, you can write it.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you, everybody.
Thank
Great
you, everybody.
show.
It
Thank
was
you.
fantastic.
And
Thank you.
Fun.
Thank you.
They came to our world seeking new resources. Both Earth and Mars were lush with plant life and mineral deposits. Unlike Mars, however, Earth was alive with a vast array of creatures, not unlike their past world, the one where they had evolved nearly 2 million years ago. It took them over 20,000 years to reach our solar system, and another 20,000 to return home and report their findings. To their dismay, all that remained of their civilization was decaying cities and wandering souls. It would take another 20,000 years to reach Earth with the intent of creating a new oasis. During their time in space, they lost the ability to breathe. Now they had a new mission, not only to settle Earth, but also to create a new life form to house their souls. By the time they had reached our world, only one man's seeds remained for creating a new life form on Earth. From the fruit of his loin, new man was created. In time, it was hoped that one of the species from the various primates they artificially inseminated would evolve to look like them. Theirs was a waiting game. To enter the Earth's atmosphere for a prolonged period of time would cause them to age and die before the transformation from primate to new man was complete. They needed new men to populate the Earth with shells for their souls, but time was running out. Could they intervene and create a new life form from Earth's primates in time to save their souls? And more importantly, are we at that stage in our history now? Perhaps they already walk among us. The answers lie with Daniel's story of abduction as leaked to the press, the alien transcripts.